Hey, listen, do you love Turkish coffee but find it too complicated to make? Well, we've found the solution with the Beko Turkish coffee maker here on Bean Basics. Oh, hey there. Welcome to Bean Basics with Bob and Michelle. Welcome to sunny Saugatuck, and welcome to the Obus Lab. Hey, listen, today we're talking about Turkish coffee. Actually, we're talking about an automatic Turkish coffee maker, or as they call it here, this brand is Beko?
I'm going with Beko.
Beko, okay. Somebody will correct us, hopefully. But they call it a Turkish coffee machine. But we've done an episode on Turkish coffee before, and Turkish coffee is a really strong, delightful cup of coffee. But we used a very traditional method where we used a
Cezve.
Cezve, that's right. And that's a little copper pot with a wooden stem, and you heat it on a stove. Takes 3 or 4 minutes, and it's a rather delicate process, right? We'll put the link to that, though, up here. We also, in that very same episode, sort of did a cheater's version of Turkish coffee using a mocha pot, a Bialetti mocha pot, right? But now, with this Turkish coffee machine, I don't think we need the cheater's version anymore. And, you know, I saw this Turkish coffee machine maker online, and I was actually kind of skeptical about the idea. I'm like, oh, come on, you know, what kind of gimmick is this? What kind of appliance is this? But then I got it and used it, and you know what? I liked it. I liked it. And I liked it, first of all, because, you know, I found the construction to be solid and durable. I also found that it's not a very big appliance, right? So sometimes, you know, like our Mocha Master is this tall and this wide, and this takes up not much more of a footprint than our Baratza grinder. So it could fit easily on a kitchen counter. And then the other thing that I liked about it is that it makes coffee really quickly, and it's about one of the easiest cleanup methods I've ever seen. Doesn't require any filters. So pretty cool. There's 3 things that come with this machine when you take it out of the box. There's this container here. And, you know, if I had one objection, you know, like a traditional Turkish, you know, it's copper and got wooden handle. This is a little on the plastic side of things. Mm-hmm. Probably needs to be just from a safety perspective, because this gets so hot that if it wasn't plastic, you'd probably burn your hands when you touched it. It does have a metal bottom on this side and on that side. And it has a measuring spoon, and, you know, my journey with measuring.
About those.
Yep,
yes.
Yep, exactly. And the machine itself, there's a hot plate right here, and up underneath, I don't know if you can see that, there's a little sensor, right? And so, because when you make Turkish coffee, and if you go to the original episode, you'll see what we're talking about, you have to bring it to a boil, and that foam will rise up quickly in the pot, and this sensor is there to say, turn off the heat right now because the foam's getting too high, right? So it won't allow it to boil over, right? And it's all automated, right? There's nothing that you have to do once you sort of hit start. And you'll be ready to pour right away.
Cool.
Yeah. And, you know, the only weird thing was, like, the way this is designed, I sort of figured this was a lid you flip up. But it doesn't. This is just the top of the machine, right? There's no lid to flip up here. There's an on-off button right there. All right. So let's talk about Turkish coffee. Like, there's Turkish coffee, the method of preparation, which, by the way, is an immersion method, right? Percolation method, we pour coffee through grounds. Immersion method, the grounds soak in water, right? And so this is a pure immersion method. Okay. But Turkish coffee comes as coffee. You can buy Turkish coffee like online, or sometimes you can see it in a grocery store and that kind of thing. And, you know, there's a real advantage to buying Turkish coffee. Let me get this out here for a moment.
That looks like hot chocolate.
It does. It looks like ground up cocoa. And if I were on your behalf to just sort of touch this, it's almost soft feeling, right? It's I don't know how to, it's like cocoa, I guess, right? Whereas normally when you touch coffee grounds, you can almost feel the granularness of it, right? Now, I did on the Baratza grinder grind some BIGGBY Best, and I did it at the lowest grind possible, which is still not fine enough as prepared Turkish coffee for you. And the way I did that is I turned the grinder on, took it to the absolute lowest setting, and you can hear the metal touching. Just take it off that touch and let it go, right? And out of that, we get a pretty fine grind too. Let me get that out here. So fine also. This one, obviously you can see the BIGGBY Best is also a darker roast than the prepared Turkish coffee. But, you know, in any other circle you'd say, wow, that's really fine. But if you went to here right away, you'd feel how soft that feels in comparison, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, the issue is most people don't have a grinder at home that can get Turkish coffee, you know, that sort of fineness. And so you almost always have to buy it in advance, or buy it pre-ground rather. But in coffee land, okay, we say don't buy pre-ground coffee if you can avoid it. Always do fresh ground. And not only is it pre-ground, you know, this is the way it comes sealed right here. And what you'll notice is there's no valve, and it's not like the Airscape, or they would have had to degas this coffee for a long period of time after grinding, because you can't put fresh ground coffee into a metal container like that, because the nitrogen and the CO2 coming off of it would blow the seam out during shipping, right? So here's the deal. The upside of using Turkish coffee is you have the proper grind. The downside is it's kind of guaranteed to be stale and a little mealy tasting. Instead, you can get your coffee as fine as you can, know that it's fresh ground and that it's fresh coffee to boot. I do want to point out that, for example, the expiration date, and right now, if you're watching this video, today is like the 19th of January, 2022, okay? This is good until October 2023. So they're saying, this coffee will be fresh for yet another year and then some. You know, it's not possible, right? So today, because sometimes I think fresh coffee can make all the difference in the world, we're going to have like not the exact proper grind, but we know it's fresh and we know the source of our coffee. All right. Let me get started. And
now, with most immersion methods, don't you usually do a much coarser grind of coffee?
Yes, you have to. Let's say in the case of a French press, because it was very fine. You know, the mesh that you push down on, all those grounds would come through that particular mesh, and you can sort of afford for it to be a coarser grind, but even by today's standards, we try not to go as coarse as they want us to, right? And maybe we'll put the French press video up here, the one we did on the Frank Green, because there, you know, what we teach you is just let the grounds settle down. You know, don't be all enthusiastic to push that mesh down. Give it 7 minutes, give it 8 minutes. It's okay. The coffee gets a little cooler. Coffee tastes better at 138 degrees anyway than it does at 212 or 199 and so on. So just give a chance for everything to sift down, right? So, but, you know, there are methods in the percolation method, like espresso method uses very fine, very, very fine. And so does the French, well, the French press uses coarse. But in any case, there are methods like the espresso method or the Turkish coffee method or the French press method where there are going to be grounds in your coffee, or silt, or there's going to be texture to it. Now, you and I get that, of course, even with our Mocha Master, right? Because we use a metal filter. And so if you have paper, you can get all the fines out. But if you're using any kind of metal filtering process, and this is zero filtering process, by the way, you're going to have some fines. Okay. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did.
Okay, super. So we're going to use the BIGGBY Best, ground as fine as we can, and we're just going to load this up. So let me get this facing you for a moment. I haven't plugged it in yet. When I do plug it in, it'll make a little, yeah.
I saw the light
come on. Okay, good enough. But this is how easy the preparation is, okay? So imagine yourself first thing in the morning, you don't have it all together. How do you measure these ingredients? And I'm just going to make one cup of Turkish coffee. With this machine, you can make up to 2. Okay, so here's how you measure everything. First of all, you decide the sweetness level that you want. And so it could be 0 cubes of sugar, 1 cube of sugar, or 2 cubes of sugar. Now, because this is a fairly strong cup of coffee, I do like it sweetened. And I like the combination of caffeine and sugar, that jolt that you get from that. So I'm going to put, just in this container right here, 2 cubes of sugar, right? Okay. Now, these are not Turkish coffee glasses, but because Turkish coffee glasses would be more straight-sided, but this is double-walled, and it's about the right size. But here's what I would say. It's about 50 milliliters that you would pour in, but you're always instructed to just sort of measure it by using the glass that you're going to pour into. Okay, so I'm doing that right there. So far, pretty simple, right? And then, and you know my worry about just using a scoop, but they give you the scoop and they say just put 1 scoop of coffee in. Now, when I measured this scoop, it turned out to be, let me just double check, about 6 grams, about 6.5 grams, right? So now we put 6 grams per 100 milliliters for drip coffee. This is 6 grams for 50 milliliters. So it's like double strength what drip coffee would be, right? So in that goes. That's it, right?
That's it?
That's it. And it's sort of like the Ron Popeil thing, right? It's like set it and forget it. So now we're going to put this in here. Just slide it in. And I want to time this just so you all know how long it's going to take. Let me turn this on. And when I push this button, you're going to see it's going to push this up. So it's going to seal it. There we go.
There we go.
Okay. And the red button went on, and you would not want to pull this out at this point. Let me hit start on the timer. You would not want to pull this out. And actually, you can't. It's like it's stuck in there at this point in time. But in the end, it'll beep at us, and it'll drop the container down, and we'll be ready to pour it right away. Okay?
I hear it.
You hear it, and now the thing is, it's going to get to a boil fast. Now, the thing about a quality Turkish coffee, the thing that folks are looking for, this is the tradition of it, is what they call foam on top, right? And the foam is not the same as crema, right? It's this little bubbly component. And if you go to the original video, you can see what I'm talking about. It's a bubbly component that sits right on top. And this does this very well, right? So when we use the traditional method, you know, it's a lot of caretaking and watching and getting it off the heat and getting on the heat and so on and so forth. You feel like you have to be an expert in order to do it, right? This takes all that expertise. It's probably putting somebody out of a job somewhere, but it's taken all the expertise out of it. Okay, you just...
There.
Okay, now it's notified. Now, that took 1 minute and 9 seconds.
Wow.
Okay, so here you go. You're in the morning. You dump all the ingredients in pretty carefully, not overly measured, and you wait 1 minute, and this is what comes out.
I can see the steam.
It's very steamy, very smoky, and there's going to be a little bit of what they just call coffee foam on that, okay? Now let me get this out of the way. And we're going to just pour this off. Is that in the shot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'll come in close while you're pouring.
Okay.
Ooh, that looks thick.
Okay, so you got the foam. Now, catch that. Now this is all the cleanup you're going to have. All you got to do is walk this over to the sink, turn on the hot water, give it the old swisheroo, and put it on your drying towel, and you're done, right? There's no cleanup here. There's no mess here. You can put your little scoop right on top. Now, with Turkish coffee, you don't drink it right away, right? And there's 2 reasons for that. One, it's boiling water, okay? So it just came off the boil.
Right.
But the other thing is, there's grounds, sugar, and water in here, right? So the grounds are in this cup. They weren't left behind. They're not someplace to be dumped out. So we have to be patient and allow those grounds to sift to the bottom, okay? Now, it's very traditional with Turkish coffee to serve it with a glass of water. And of course, you know, nobody drinks Turkish coffee by themselves. Hopefully you're with a friend at this moment in time. And you're sitting at some marketplace bazaar and having great conversation and dialogue, and you'll be sipping on your water. And when you feel like the moment is right, that is, that this is cooled off enough, remember the boil's at 212. Sometimes we brew coffee at 199. But coffee actually tastes best, and many foods do, at 138 degrees. And so sometimes we're infatuated with how hot things are when we drink them, but when they're that hot, they actually tamp down the flavor notes, right? The closer it gets to room temperature, the more the flavor notes will actually come through. I don't know if you ever watched a cupping before, but if you cup it when it came out versus a few minutes later, and a few minutes later, and a few minutes later again, the flavor notes change and they get truer the closer they get to room temperature. But I'm going to go ahead and take a sip of this now. Hopefully many of the grounds have sifted to the bottom already. And that is an excellent cup of Turkish coffee. So, yes.
Woohoo! That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, okay. Now, the question for us is this something that we would keep for ourselves? Is this something that we'd give away to somebody else? Or is this a useless piece of junk on earth and we should crush it?
Well, I haven't tasted the Turkish coffee that it's made yet.
No, but I can vouch for it.
But I can tell you, if it makes a good cup of Turkish coffee and it's that small, I don't know why it isn't already on our kitchen counter.
Right on. So you're saying...
Keep it.
Keep it. All right. Well, on that note, we should get out of here. And so we want to leave you with this one note, which starts off with...
When you love the world
will love you right back.
Hey, thanks for joining us. For future episodes, click the subscribe button. Bean Basics is brought to you by One Big Island in Space.com with 2 G's.